Welcome to New Life Live with host and founder of New Life Ministries, Stephen Arterburn. New Life Live is dedicated to transforming lives one at a time, thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's Steve.
What's going on, everybody? Zach Matchett filling in today for Steve Arterburn. Honored to be with you again, wherever you're joining us from. Thanks for making us a part of your day. I am hanging out today with Dr. Alice Benton. Hi, Alice.
Hello.
Good to see you. And
Zach.
Becky Brown joining us from a remote location somewhere. Hi, Becky.
Undisclosed.
Yes.
Undisclosed,
I'm out here in the Ohio land. It's a wonderful place to be. I'm glad to be here with you guys, too.
That's right. No further details needed about your secret location. Well, you know, it's funny. You know how many of us do, you're on the internet and you recognize, you know how it seems like every day is a national holiday for something?
Yeah.
I mean, just the other day, Lauren was like, oh, my wife, she goes, you realize that today is national, whatever it was, if I fill in the blank. I was like, no, I clearly missed that. But today, legitimately, ladies, is a national holiday. Because my wife's birthday is today. Lauren Matchett. Her birthday is today. And so I want to give a shout out to her. But it's also for two reasons. One is that's the most important one. Second, and somewhat smaller importance, is that episode 4 of Obi-Wan Kenobi comes out tonight. So that's why it's another national holiday. And so some of you Star Wars fans are just so appreciative that I said that right now. In all seriousness, just as another year passes, my wife and I have been reflecting and commenting on just the changes in our lives and as our kids are getting older. And, as we move into new phases of life, change comes and it can jar us from time to time. I'd love to hear your ladies' perspective on how you guys in your particular fields, just more in the therapy and recovery world, how you coach people through change, because people respond to it in so many different ways. Becky, let me start with you. Like, if somebody's going through a change that's listening and they're having a tough time kind of navigating their way through it, what would you share with them, just a couple of things to how to navigate that?
One of the things that we say all the time here at New Life is you have to connect. And to find a couple of people who you trust and who know you well, and talk to them about what you're challenged with. Of course, I would also encourage you maybe talk to a counselor or a coach. It depends on what the challenge is, but we have to do it in community. We can't do it alone.
That's
and I
right.
think that's one of the biggest mistakes that people make, is they think that they can do it on their own. And there is strength in numbers.
Absolutely. Alice, what do you think?
I look for I shouldn't feel this way about this change coming up. I should be happy. I should be excited. I should be celebrating. And whether it's a negative emotion you shouldn't be feeling, or even a positive emotion you think you shouldn't be feeling, we have so many self-imposed restrictions on what our emotions should be. And yet whatever is elicited by the change of life we're going through, there's a legitimate, important reason why we feel that way. And so being able to put vocabulary to it, name it, identify it, talk about it, process it, helps us to work through the change in a healthy way.
Absolutely.
Alice, you know what I always say about that? Don't should all over yourself.
Yeah. The only reason you can say that, Becky, is because you're joining us from a remote location. And we can't reprimand you if you say that on the air. No, you guys are right. That's super helpful. And I find that Christianity offers the best, most balanced teaching on emotions and feelings, because on the one hand it says you should feel them deeply. You should feel your feelings deeply. But it also says don't be a prisoner to your feelings. Let God rule your emotions, process your emotions in prayer. And, as just in this change of life and as my wife and I are continuing to move on, it's just another year. It's a time to reflect. And we're very thankful for the changes that are kind of coming and going in our life. But I know it jars people. And so maybe you're listening today and you find yourself in the midst of a change, whether it's self-imposed or it's happening to you, and you find yourself in a bit of a crisis. That's why New Life is here. And so we're going to be here for 2 hours today. We got plenty of time to take your calls. 1-800-229-3000. Alice and Becky and I would love to at least be good listeners and offer insight and encouragement and challenge where we can. And so give us a call, 1-800-229-3000. Thanks so much for hanging out with us today.
It had become very apparent that some of the things I was involved with were taking over my life.
In today's world, men are barraged with inappropriate content and images all day, every day. Some say that certain behaviors are just no big deal. It's just part of being a guy. But it's simply not true. It's a battleground for every man, and the opportunities to fail are everywhere. New Life's Every Man's Battle Workshop can help.
After 7 years, just one weekend, I completely changed man.
For over 20 years, New Life Ministries has been helping men regain their integrity and purity through their one-of-a-kind Every Man's Battle Workshop.
He said, I think this is something that every man should go to. Married, dating, it was definitely life-changing.
Now the workshop is coming to Indianapolis June 10th through the 12th. Don't wait for him to call. To find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to newlife.com. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Thanks again for joining us today. Zach Matchett, filling in for Steve Arterburn. I'm here with Dr. Alice Benton and Becky Brown. We're so thankful that you're joining us today. As I shared earlier, we're taking your calls today for 2 hours. And again, if you find yourself in a situation where you just need some help, please give us a call. 1-800-229-3000 is the number. Father's Day is coming up here soon, and which is obviously a national holiday, probably actually more official than the ones I just mentioned earlier in the call. But, all of us, one of the challenges I know for many of us is that some of us have a great relationship with our earthly father. Others of us do not. And I want to honor somebody that was so special to the New Life family, Dr. Dave Stoop, who passed away recently. It was such an important part of everything that was going on here. But if you give during the month of June, we're going to send you Dave Stoop's book, Making Peace with Your Father, and it will really, really help you. If that's a situation that you could use some help in reconciling or just finding healing and recovery in, it's a great, great resource. And so if you give a gift of any amount, we will send you Dave's book, Making Peace with Your Father. And so I want to make sure that we give him the honor that is due to him. He was such an important part of all that happened here at New Life. And so, again, we'd love to take your calls. We're going to go to our first one now. We're going to go to Tracy. Tracy is listening to us in Washington. And so, Tracy, hello. Welcome to New Life Live. How can we help you today?
Hi, good morning. Thank you so much. I love your show. Thanks for taking my call.
Of course, you're welcome.
I have a question for you guys. I have just gotten out of a 3-year relationship. I'm a single mom of 2, divorced mom of 2 girls. And when we met, it's a long-distance relationship. We felt like we were on the same page. He said, he was dating with the intent of marriage. Everything has been fine. And then recently, when I was kind of pressing him a little bit for more, like meaning, okay, we can't long distance date forever, and the goal was to have him move to Washington. And then he kind of started stepping back, and then finally he was like, well, I need to get my relationship with God and together, and I want to work on myself. And so it kind of left me a bit confused, and I had pressed for like, why don't we go to counseling and things of that sort, and we went to 2 sessions, and then really just kind of faded off. And so I'm pretty disappointed. In the beginning, I sought God, I prayed about it, I felt a peace in my spirit about it, and now feeling like, wow, how do I know when it's the right situation for me? And if you pray and you're asking the Lord to guide you and you feel a peace about it, how did this happen? So it's left me pretty confused and, feeling some kind of way about it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you calling in, Tracy. Thanks for the context and the background on that. I guess my question, to summarize what I think I'm hearing in your question is kind of how do you know if a person is right for you in this particular situation? Is that a fair summary of your question?
Yes, and, when you feel like you've prayed and you felt a clear in your spirit and, they meet all of the different criteria, and then things like this happen, right, and kind of leaves you with a bitter taste in your mouth.
Yeah, I hear you.
This is a too, so,
Thanks for calling in. Yeah, so Alice, jump in here. What do you think would be some kind of next steps for Tracy.
A few more questions, Tracy, to better answer your question.
Yeah.
The man you dated long distance is not the man you were married to, not the father of your daughters. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And if you just gave us the bottom line of what happened with the marriage ending in divorce, what would you say it was?
So when I was married, and this was been 10 years ago, he was abusive emotionally and verbally, and he dealt with some issues, bipolar, and had a lot of issues.
I'm so sorry, Tracy.
Infidelity, all of that.
Oh, my
so,
goodness.
that kind of leaves me, now I'm looking to date. This is kind of the first person that I've dated for, it's been 3 years. And now, like I said, just left a bit confused and heartbroken, really.
And there's a background of pain and betrayal with your previous husband. And your girls now, are they teenagers?
No, one is a teenager. She's 16, and then the other one is 21.
And tell me about the woman in your life with whom you're able to share the details of your dating life. Who would that be?
I have a therapist, and then if we're talking about I have a good friend that I could talk to.
And the reason I ask is because I think it's part of the answer to your question that if we're dating in isolation, and I'm glad that you're not, it is so much harder for us to see the warning signs or to be supported or comforted or even held accountable. And so I think one of the keys in future relationships of whether or not this is the right person for me is bringing that person around the girlfriends who know you and love you and care about you and can provide feedback and counsel about the person that you're dating.
Makes sense, yeah. I mean, they did, all of my friends met him, families met him, liked him. I got along with his family. Obviously, we're living far away, so it's not every day that they would see him, but I mean, everybody seemed to like him.
That's one of the challenges too, Tracy, that when we have long distance relationships, there's a lot of excitement about the time that you get together, you look forward to that, and there is very little information that you have about day-to-day stuff. And it makes sense to me that you would get connected to somebody far away, given that your past relationship was so painful. So the times that you interacted with him weren't as painful, but then when he cuts it off, it's like a shock. I agree with you, Alice. You got to have the folks around you that can see you. But I don't know, Tracy, if your question is how to heal from this or how to go forward, which one would it be?
Well, I know healing is a process, and so that will happen over time with my therapist. But really, I mean, at some point, I'm marriage material. I want to get married, and I don't want to find myself investing in another relationship that ends like this when you think you've done pretty much everything right, as far as, taking your time, getting to know the person and all of that. So just really how to move forward for my next relationship.
Yeah. Tracy, are you connected to any sort of local church community or some sort of a group of some kind, a community that you would find yourself in?
I do go to my local church, yeah.
Yeah, okay, good. The reason I ask is Becky mentioned this at the top of the show about just the idea of just being in community and navigating the seasons of life in community. And Alice mentioned not dating in isolation and just the utter importance of that. So maybe my encouragement would just be to double down on that. Double down on having those people with you and reaching out to them. And I think, too, just and you started out your call by saying, if you feel like you've done everything right, you've prayed, you've sought counsel, you've tried to hear from God, and that could be a pretty discouraging thing when you feel like you've done all the right steps and you still get a C on the test and not an A or whatever the case may be. But I do think that, the Scripture encourages us to walk by faith, not by sight. As Paul says, Galatians 5, keep in step with the Spirit. I mean, those are certainly things that we are trying to do day to day, and sometimes it can be hard to not see the full picture. And I would just say, when we pray, God either gives us what we ask for, that's one option, or he gives us frankly, what we would have asked for if we knew what he knew. Meaning that there's a higher perspective of why this doesn't make sense, but yet God is working through the confusion of this not working out. And I know that probably, hopefully, doesn't feel like cold comfort, that it's still encouraging to think through how God might be working in your life. And so on the part of like moving forward and how to step into it, I'd love to send you some sort of a resource that maybe can get you pointed in the right direction. Ladies, I don't know if you have anything that you would recommend. Healing as a Choice comes to mind, but is there another resource that we think might be more particular? Alice, what do you think?
There is, and it's Henry Cloud's book, How to Get a Date Worth Keeping. And it takes a radical approach, Tracy, to getting to know a variety of men. Actually, around 21 men is the advice, to get to know them on a friend level so that you broaden your experience and you increase your exposure to a wide variety of people. Now, this is a strong challenge. It takes a lot of effort to meet that many people. And the intention is to keep it on the friend level so that you can get to know what you like, what you want, and the quality of the men around you. So I want to recommend that book to you. And it takes place, of course, in sexual abstinence, because whether or not that's been a part of your story, that so clouds our perception and gets us into too deep of a connection too quickly. Go ahead.
Yeah, we haven't. We were waiting. The goal is to wait to marriage, and we haven't been together in that way.
I'm just doubly frustrated for you that you have done so many things right that we would advise anyhow, and it still ended in a confusing way of him stepping away from you. Yeah. So I hope that this...
Well, but that's... Yeah. And that's why I said, Alice, I think sometimes long-distance relationships are so challenging because there's so much intensity in those rare meetings. Even if you meet on just the weekends, there's not this rhythm of life where you can have these small conversations about bigger things. And without knowing his side of the story, we don't know what his fear or his background is, right? And so I would encourage you, Tracy, as you go forward, to find your team of people. I love that book recommendation too. I've heard it help so many people, and I think that will be your best way forward.
Yeah, and Tracy, we'll send you that resource. Thanks again for calling and just reaching out to us. Again, I feel the frustration. I'm even thinking about my other situations in my life. It's like, I literally did this by the book of what I literally, whether it be the Bible or just by the book, just generically of like the old saying, and it's still turning out difficult. And it honestly, maybe it's just a sobering reminder for all of us that that this is a confusing world, a fallen world, and yet we could find ourselves in that place of pain and hardship, even in spite of our best intentions. And so I just pray, Tracy, that you can move forward, and that resource is a helpful one for you. Thanks so much for calling today. We're going to move to our next call. This is Kelly. Kelly is listening to us in North Carolina, actually watching us on YouTube, which you can go and find the New Life YouTube channel. So, Kelly, welcome to New Life Live. How can we help you today?
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, of course.
I guess I'll just ask the question and then get into whatever other details you might want. But basically, I have been dealing with severe insecurity basically my whole life. I'm 48 years old. I'm on my second marriage, and my first marriage, I was unfaithful most of my marriage. I got married when I was 19, and I had basically all my life I had been looking for men to fulfill something in my life to make me feel good. At this point in my life, I'm happily married, and I have had none of that in this marriage, but I still deal with this need for someone to make me feel good about myself. And I wake up every morning and I'm thinking about the way I look. Am I good enough? I'm getting older, and it's like I see all these things, the gray hair, the wrinkles, and all this kind of stuff. And like, I'm starting to think that I have no value other than my appearance.
Kelly, would you?
I don't know.
Would you tell us about how your parents treated you and what it left you believing about yourself as a little girl?
Yeah, I mean, my dad was very, sick my whole childhood. So my dad worked, and then when he was home, he was just emotionally not there. My mom, I kind of grew up watching my mom cheat on my dad, and I was the only one in the house that saw it. I was very observant of everything. And she kind of treated me like she kind of almost acted jealous of me as I was growing up. When I was younger, she kind of was she didn't really show me much attention. I was just kind of there, you know.
Yeah, Kelly, thanks for sharing that. We got to go to a break here. I want you to stay on the line. And we could hear the emotion. I mean, just that one question that Alice asked about your family of origin immediately drew up some emotions for you. And I think there's some things that we can do to get you pointed in the right direction, but just stay with us over the break, and we'd love to continue chatting and maybe get you some help and some resources. Thanks again for hanging out with us on New Life to Life today. We're taking your calls for 2 hours. 1-800-229-3000 is the number. We'll be right back.
My husband was involved with pornography addiction.
He was unfaithful. I called the wedding off. He stepped out on the marriage and ended up having a child.
The Restore Workshop is designed for a woman dealing with a man's sexual addiction issues.
My husband is a recovering sex addict. There were strip clubs, other ladies.
If you've been affected by betrayal, an emotional or physical affair, or pornography, the Restore Workshop will equip you with support and tools to help you through.
Restore has empowered me and has given me the tools to work through my anger, work through my pain, work through my confusion, and help me realize that I am worthy.
Being here and being surrounded by people who get it has given me my power back.
The Restore Workshop is coming to Dallas, Texas, July 15th through the 17th. To register or to find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go online to newlife.com.
Thank you, Restore. You have changed my life forever.
I was really living a very anxiety-filled life. I turned on New Life, and the topic that day was about anxiety. And just by listening, I got relief.
You can help New Life stay on the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you the new member thank you gift of the Life Recovery Bible personal size, the 1-year Life Recovery Prayer Devotional, the New Life Journal, a New Life pen and highlighter, and a New Life zipper tote to hold it all. Plus, there are ongoing benefits like access to the Club New Life video library, the monthly Club New Life CD or download, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, and discounts on workshops. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Thanks again for joining us today. Zach Matchett here, filling in for Steve Arterburn. I'm with Becky Brown and Dr. Alice Benton. Again, if you like this show and want to share it with people who you feel like would benefit from it, you can download the New Life app to listen to not just the live show each day, but also archived broadcasts from shows past. Follow us on social media, the YouTube channel. Again, if you hear something that's kind of sparks something in you, and you're like, oh my gosh, this person would really benefit from that topic or that conversation or that point that was made. Again, let's live life in community, and let's share resources that we find helpful with people that we know who are struggling. And we've got Kelly here on the line, and Kelly has been chatting with us about just some insecurity that she is continuing to deal with in her life. And right before the break, we had a chance to hear, Kelly, about your family of origin. And so I wanted to throw it to Becky just because we haven't had a chance to hear from you, Becky, just for some follow-up on what Kelly shared or any follow-up questions that you might have for her.
Well, I think the big one question I have is, what is your question for us, Kelly? What can we help you the best with?
I need to somehow find a solution for this because it's affecting my marriage now. I mean, I can't go places without feeling like I'm comparing myself to other women and like, is he going to find somebody else more attractive than me? Is he going to leave me for somebody younger? You know, it's like, it's always in my head, and it's like torture.
Right.
And
right.
I don't know how to get past it.
Have you ever worked with a counselor on this issue, Kelly?
No.
Okay, that may be step one. You explained in just those brief sentences before we went to the break, you had a really challenging childhood that then led into a challenge in your first marriage. And so those old wounds are still there and they need healing. And, one of the things that we say all the time is that you got to feel it to heal it, and you need that in a safe, secure place. That would be step one. I would want you to get a copy of How We Love, and I think it would be really powerful for you and your husband to go to our intimacy and marriage workshop, because we believe healing occurs in relationship, and you've got a great relationship. You said that, and he can help you with this. And it can create such a strength in this relationship. It could be powerful.
Yeah, I want to jump in with some details on that workshop, Becky. Good call. Intimacy and Marriage is actually July 22nd through the 24th in Washington, D.C. And if you register by July 8th, you can save $200. And I agree. I think that's there seems to be some personal work, Kelly, that you can do with the counselor, but there also seems to be some work that you guys can do, you and your husband, as a team. The Bible says the two shall become one flesh, meaning that all the burdens that we sense and feel, even though they may be somewhat independent, it's not just affecting me, it's we. It's not just I, it's us. And so I think maybe getting into some counseling, just not for you individually, but also bringing your husband into the fold of that as well. Alice, I'll let you jump in here kind of with the last word.
Well, Kelly, there are actually a lot of similarities between my story and yours with family of origin infidelity that led to a lot of insecurity. It wasn't the only factor, but a big factor in my own insecurity about my marriage. It felt like a ticking clock. It's just inevitable. My husband will be unfaithful to me, as has happened in the generations of my family. So I'm just biding my time until I find out about the infidelity. And so you and I have to both focus on the original pain and the messages your parents unintentionally cemented into you with their absence, with their neglect, the jealousy, the infidelity. But we also need to learn, and our husbands need to learn, for us to bring our current fears to our husbands on a regular basis and ask for reassurance. It sounds simple how I describe it, but it's actually a very complex task. I feel sometimes like I'm a black hole of needing reassurance from my husband. Do you love me? What do you like about me? Are you committed to me?
Right.
Yes. And when I've done the historical work, that need has decreased for the current day reassurance. But we have an agreement between the two of us that when I'm fearful of signs of infidelity, I bring those signs to my husband, and on a regular basis, I ask him to reassure me of his love for me. And we both know that nourishes my heart and soul, and it diminishes my fear.
Yeah, and I just feel. Go ahead, Becky.
I want to say, Kelly, you said earlier about gray hair. Listen, it's okay. You're gonna, you can either color it or let it go, like I did. But I think as you heal in this relationship, your longevity of connection and a rich, fulfilling marriage is possible. And the fact that you just are becoming aware of this need being needing to be healed. And I love what you just said, Alice. It's like we have these insecurities, but we can do something about them. And so I hope something we've said, I want her to get How We Love, and I would love to see you in July there in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a good reminder for all of us that and again, hopefully this doesn't come across as overly rational, logical, but just how tempting the approval of others can really be, and how it can replace. It's like we're living for approval rather than from approval of what our Heavenly Father thinks about us, what the people that love us most in our life think about us. And man, when you kind of get steeped in that, it could be a tough pit to climb out of. And so I pray, Kelly, we're praying for you that you can overcome this. I mean, the greatest of challenges in our life, they do feel insurmountable at times. But I'm trusting that God's got something for you. And so thanks for calling in today. We're hanging out with you guys for 2 hours, taking your phone calls. 1-800-229-3000 is the number to reach us. We got a few callers. Stay on the line. We'll get to you here as quickly as we can. And again, don't allow the approval of others. Don't allow the things, even good things. Don't overvalue good things and let them become ultimate things. Here at New Life, we believe that God is what you need, healing is what you need. Let those be the true north for you. Even though they may be superseding things that are good, we don't want them to become ultimate. We'll be right back.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit its addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for 30 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
I'm an addict, and I'm trying to get God in my life again. You seem to be able to get to the crux of a problem quickly.
Our Christ-centered treatment programs can help you break free to embrace all that God has for you and your family.
I just want to thank you guys for bringing me to a relationship with Jesus.
There really is help for marital problems, depression, addictions, panic attacks, and feelings of hopelessness.
I came back with so many tools to help me prepare myself to fight this struggle and this battle that I have every day.
You can start living again today, living the life God intended for you. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
They did care, and they did follow up very lovingly, and it made all the difference in my life.
Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Someone who cares is waiting at the other end of the phone. God can open the door to a better tomorrow right now. Just call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. 1-800-639-5433.
We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Thanks again for being with us. Zach Matchett here for Steve Arterburn. Dr. Alice Benton and Becky Brown are with me. And we're taking your phone calls today for 2 hours. 1-800-229-3000 is the number. And if you need anything, just give us a call. We'd love to listen and chat with you. Becky, I wanted to send it over to you because you wanted to share what we got going on in the world of making a contribution to New Life. So I'll pass it over to you.
I am so excited to share about how you can be part of the ministry. We have such a great family of supporters through Club New Life. Our Club New Life family are folks that give on a monthly basis that helps us do everything that we do here at New Life. But currently we have a matching gift campaign going on. And so it's really going to make a difference. As you give, everything you give will be doubled. And I can't say enough about it, but I think I need to reconnect. So, Zach, if you'll take it from here.
Yes, of course. Your location's very remote today, just so remote. And so we'll get that taken care of. We apologize for the audio difficulties. But you're right. I mean, just this financial match thing is a really, really big deal because you have the opportunity to not only contribute to something that I know personally has been meaningful for you, the one who's making the contribution, but also that you're making it possible for someone else or many other people to receive the help that they need in their moment of crisis or hardship or challenge in their life. And so please take advantage of doing that and contributing of what's going on here. So many great ministry things that are happening here at New Life. And so we're going to get to the next call here. We got a few waiting. Thanks for your patience hanging there with us. Again, we're here for a couple of hours. 1-800-229-3000 is the number. So we're going to go to Susie next. Susie is listening to us in Washington, D.C. Hi, Susie. Welcome to New Life Live. How can we help you today?
Hi. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. What's your question today?
Okay. My question is, I'm married and my husband let his mom to live with us and I don't like it, and I told him that I'm not happy about it, and he's afraid to do anything. He's not doing anything about it. And I don't know what to do now, what my next step should be. Do I tell the church? Do I tell his friends, or I don't know. I need some help what to do, but I keep telling him that's not my choice and I'm not happy, but he doesn't do anything. It's not my position to tell her to leave the house or anything like that, so I don't know. I need some wisdom.
Susie, what are the circumstances of your mother-in-law moving in, and is the long-term plan temporary or permanent?
Yeah, long-term. Probably, for life. She wants to live.
And what happened that she came to live with you?
She has no place of her own. She's been with another family before, but they got problems, so she had to leave their house. So now she needs a place. First, she came to our house and she started living for a little bit because they asked me, my husband asked me if it's okay if she can come because she cannot live with those people anymore. I said okay for a little bit. Well, I didn't say a little bit. I just said okay, she has no place to go. But when we lived, I just realized it's totally big mistake because we don't get along at all. She's very judgmental. She makes me feel so down and everything. So now I said, she moved out and she came back, and I said, please, I don't want this in our marriage, and she needs to move out, find a place for her. But I think he's too scared of her. She's kind of, controlling, and she gets her way. And she wants to live with him. They love each other. He loves her so much. That's okay, he loves his mom. That's fine. But I don't like it in our marriage. So I don't know what to do now.
Yeah, what do you think, Alice?
Is she financially dependent on the two of you?
Not really. She has some income.
And he's an only child, or are there other siblings?
There are other siblings, like 3 or 4 other kids. Grown people. Matured and siblings.
Yeah.
And although your husband is hesitant to address his mother, is he willing to engage with you in conversation about this and to hear about the difficulties and to talk about potential solutions to the problem?
Yeah, he's not suggesting any potential solutions. He just listened to me when I told him what happens and how we don't get along, that I'm not happy and I don't want my marriage, my life to be like, everyday disappointment, because she disappoints me in many ways. He listens, and then he says nothing. He doesn't provide solution. I know how the family goes. They're all scared of her. She only goes, about what she wants. And she's a widow also, so he feels really bad about and responsible to take care of her or something like that. So I understand his feeling, but at the same time, I don't want to be unhappily living in my marriage. We lived in 20 years happily married, so I don't want to interrupt my joy in my marriage. And I don't know what to do. I've never. Go ahead.
Would any of the other siblings be willing to engage in conversation with you and your husband, if he were willing, about other options for your mother-in-law?
He hasn't tried. They don't like it. I guess I don't know. We're not very close to talk about anything. We don't meet a lot or anything. There's superficial, family relationship, but it's not close enough to talk about, what to do about what. We don't talk about at all. I'm not their part. They don't include me. They have their own circle, so I don't involve in their circle. So I just told him, can you please talk to your other siblings and come out with a solution. I even went and registered for apartment for her. Nobody does anything for her to be independent. I'm the only one that wants her independence.
And
on her side of the family there.
He has been practically non-responsive to your requests. He listens, and that's all he does about it.
Only listen, nothing else.
So in a case like this, I think that you do have several options, but they do all involve an unfair amount of effort and action on your part, because no one else is bothered by the problem to the extent that you are, and he is unwilling to act. A first attempt I might make for the sake of safeguarding and hopefully even improving your marriage and even safeguarding the relationship with your mother-in-law, since you'll have to deal with her on some level, whether or not she lives with you, is to ask if your husband would be willing to come into a therapy session so that you have a third party to help guide the conversation. A pastor, you mentioned reaching out to your church. A pastor could also be helpful if your husband would be more willing to talk with a pastor than a therapist. But a third party might help him both to better understand how severe and difficult this is for you and to draw out some of the fears and apprehensions that he has about addressing his mother, and the consequences he might be afraid will be enacted if he displeases her, which would be my guess of why he is so hesitant. Maybe he's more of an avoider and perhaps a people pleaser. Might that be true about your husband?
Yes, he is.
Yeah. It sounds like it's a boundaries issue as well.
He's the nicest person for everybody. He's the sweetest and nicest person for everybody.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it sounds like that there's some boundaries that kind of need to be drawn to help move this issue forward. Becky, I don't know if you've had a chance to kind of correct the audio issues. Is there anything you'd like to throw in here to help Sandy? I'm sorry, Susie, sorry.
Well, I think the challenge is a boundary issue, Zach, and I do agree with what you just said, Alice, that you're going to need a third party, and don't settle for less. Don't, say, well, because they don't want to do anything, that I'm stuck with this. You need to be able to advocate for yourself, and you're going to need somebody else to help you with that process. And, it's a fight worth fighting for. I mean, it's you don't want resentment to start getting a wedge in all of these relationships even further. Yeah. And again, you just mentioned, like, actually Alice said, going to a counselor, having some sort of third party there to mediate the conversation. I find it interesting. It's hard for us as individuals, let's just say hypothetically, if I'm a married couple, and to think, well, there's two of us. It's our family. It's our issue. It's our problem. We should be sufficient to solve, find the next steps, do the right thing, and we don't, for whatever reason, we kind of go inwardly as a couple, and we don't maybe reach out for that maybe more potentially objective third party or a professional that can kind of ask the right questions to kind of get to the next level of how to do that. We square off. We square off at each other. We start
to
think if the other person would just do what we say, then everything would be fine. The other person's thinking if they would just do what I say, then everything would be fine. So the third party does help a lot in these situations, and you have to have a plan. And there's a lot of couples that are dealing with this right now.
Yeah. I'm going to ask a question that the host should already know, but I don't, so I'm just going to own it. Do we have a copy of the book Boundaries that we can send?
Yes, we do. Yes.
Okay, great. I took a chance and it paid off, my
friends.
Good job, there Zach. You go. So we're going to, Susie, we're going to send you a copy of that book. I think that's just a helpful read to just think through these boundaries that we have to draw and have those crucial conversations. So hope that's helpful to you. For those of you that are on the line, stay there. We're going to get to you as much as we can. 2 hours, we're taking your calls today, 1-800-229-3000. We'll be back.
I came into this thinking that my husband was the cause of many of our issues.
The New Life Intimacy and Marriage Workshop is coming to Washington, D.C. July 22nd to the 24th.
But after learning about our attachment styles, I understood how our past hurts were playing into our present problems.
Join Steve Arterburn.
It's been a dream of mine for a long time to help people to grow more intimately together, and we believe that everybody has room to grow in the intimacy level of their life.
And Milan and Kay Yurkovich.
We help couples understand how their attachment style is sabotaging their current relationship. And then we teach them how to create comfort in a relationship.
And New Life's group counselors will help you focus on the area that will benefit your marriage most. To register or to find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Here at this workshop, we had our first ever conversation without yelling, blaming, and accusing.
1-800-NEW-LIFE. Chris Williams on coaching.
Oftentimes I get asked, what is the difference between therapy and coaching? The biggest difference between the two is that a therapist is going to be looking for a diagnosable mental health condition, whereas a coach is going to look at a particular issue. and help a person work through that.
If you need a coach, call New Life today and ask about the New Life Coaching Network. Our coaches have been trained and screened with the same intensive process we use for our network counselors.
If you're looking at an issue in your life that you just kind of want to change, whether it be your weight or leadership or other areas of behavioral patterns, check out coaching. There can be some really, really helpful things for you.
Take control of your life and take action to achieve your goals. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 and talk to us about getting a New Life coach. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Thanks again for joining us today. Zach Matchett, filling in for Steve Arterburn. Dr. Alice Benton and Becky Brown are with me. We have been chatting with Susie on the line. And Alice, you had one thing you wanted to kind of add there for Susie before we move on.
I just want to give an example, Susie, of the practical application of the boundaries we're discussing, because boundaries are clarification of what I am willing to do. I'm willing to help financially. I'm willing to help find the apartment. I'm willing to help get that sibling conversation going together. And it's an admission of what's not working well. It's not working well long term for us to remain in this living situation as it is. And so I'll need to do a couple of things to change it. We express a hope and a desire. I hope you will address this with your mom and with your siblings. You haven't yet. And so if you still won't or aren't able to, these are the steps I am going to take. We have to protect our hearts so that we can give cheerfully and freely, because resentful giving leads to relational sickness and spiritual illness. And God does not intend for us to give that way long term. It doesn't work.
Absolutely. Well said.
Beautifully said.
Yeah. We're going to get to our next call here. And so we're going to listen to Mary. Mary is calling us today from Maryland, it looks like, but print's a little small, so I hope that's right. Hi, Mary. Welcome to New Life Live. How can we help you today?
Good afternoon. Thank you for taking my call.
Of course.
My question is about the changes that I'm experiencing in life as presented by all these new political agendas and their veracity. Like in June around here we have a homosexual parade every year, and it's gotten bigger, and now the news agencies are reporting it every day. You know, it's upcoming, it's this, it's that. And I have a problem with their kind of hostile agenda, because it seems to be targeting kids these days. And I've lived a long time. I'm 63, divorced, recovering alcoholic, codependent, that regrets her pregnancy history. So I have some life experience. And then there's the so polarized political atmosphere that we're contending with, and every day I hear strange, dangerous political agendas.
Yeah. Are there any kids in your life that you're caring for, Mary? When you say that you're concerned about, are there particular kids or grandkids or nephews and nieces in your life that you are in relationship with?
Yeah, I got 4. My daughter has 4 little daughters.
Okay.
And I just hate to think what the world's going to be like for them.
Yeah.
Mary,
thanks for calling. Alice, you want to jump in here?
Your concerns are near and dear to my heart, as I also have 3 young children. All of us here on the show, we all have children. And so we worry about the same thing. I sometimes think that it feels like we're living in Babylon. And I cling to the hope of Daniel and his companions, that even in the midst of an evil, broken world that is prophesied to become more evil and even more broken, that there are ways we can protect the hearts of our children and prepare them to face this world. So, Mary, a couple ways that I do this and teach my clients to do this is I bring, even to my young children, I bring some of the reality, some of the headlines of what are taking place, and even what they might be taught in their schools, what I assume assume their peers will be talking about, already are talking about. So I inform my children of enough of that I think they can handle given their age level. And I bring in what my spiritual beliefs are, my family's beliefs, and the household standard that my husband and I have for us. I point out where things don't quite match up with the world and the ways of the world. And then my kids and I talk about it. We talk about what we think and what we feel. We even role play, because I'm a nerdy therapist, and we role play. What would you do when your peers at school bring up sex and talk about pornography and show it to you on their screens? How are you going to react to that? And so I prepare them the best I can to be salt and light in a scary world. And it is frightening to me too, Mary.
Yeah. Becky, what would you add here?
Well, Mary, I'm not too much younger than you, and so I can relate to the big changes that we've seen in our lifetime. But, Jesus tells us that in this world we will have trouble, and trouble comes in all different shapes, sizes, ways, and it does seem like we're hearing more, but it's because we are in a media world now. So there were times that things were happening that we didn't even know that was going on because it didn't show up on the evening news. Well, now we have a 24/7 news cycle, and it's actually, the way media works now is that your brain really is attracted to what you're seeing on TV. So you get shorter commercials, shorter news spans, but you hear everything. And so if you find that this is, really getting you into a pit somewhere, you might need to turn it off for a while. Now, I'm not an advocate for, putting your head in the sand and act like nothing's happening. I do think that, like what you said, Alice, you prepare your grandkids, but I want to encourage you to reach out with the love of Christ that saved you from what you were explaining, and know that there is hope for this world. We are the hope for this world. And it is overwhelming when the last couple of weeks have just been oppressive with what we've experienced here. And there are 15 different ways to look at every single problem. But we do know the way, the truth, and the life is the answer. And we have to find ways to connect with people with the love of Christ, no matter what we're seeing on the news. And I just hope that encourages you. And, it is tough. It's tough.
And we keep in mind who the true enemy is, because it's not the people that we disagree with. It's the powers of the evil one. And the folks that we disagree with in this world need our prayers and need our love as much as anybody, maybe more.
And need relationship with us too. I think that's the other part too, is that we really, we have become such a divided world, and our influence ends where we are separated from people. And so we want to be able to connect with people, show them, what Jesus has for them, and love them all at the same time. It's hard, but it's possible.
As a student pastor for 17 years, I mean, this topic is, it's not just maybe an issue, it's the issue. And not just for kids navigating and asking questions, Alice, as you mentioned, or for those that are caring for the kids, whether they be parent figures, parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles. And I think there's a few approaches. I mean, on the one hand, we need to speak clearly, lovingly, and graciously on the right issues. Tim Keller has this great quote where he says, "Truth without love is harshness, but love without truth is sentimentality." And that's why we need both. And so I think there's ways to do that, and we're probably going to face increased pressure here in this particular issue as it relates to views of sexuality, gender, marriage, family. I mean, that's all one big stew that we're kind of, stirring up. It's all kind of interconnected. The other thing I would say, just two quick things here as we wrap up, is I find too with students or kids when they ask questions, and it depends on the maturity level of the student asking, but oftentimes if I hear them say, I just don't understand why God would fill in the blank about this, why would God say that's wrong or this lifestyle is bad? And my follow-up is, why do you believe that? And the reason I ask that question is because I think our kids are growing up in a society where they just see those things as self-evident. They're actually not beliefs at all, but they actually are. They are beliefs. There's just as much faith and logic and rationale put into those beliefs as the things that maybe we are often critiqued for as Christians. Like, would anybody believe in that, for instance? And then finally, and this is maybe the bit of the zag to the zig I'm giving here, I think the hostility that's coming from differing viewpoints, unfortunately, is mirroring the hostility that has come from Christians in the church in a bad way. I think that they are at times taking a page out of our own book. And you know what our best witness for that is? It's repentance and owning up to where we've done wrong in that. And you know what? We haven't spoken the truth with as much love as maybe we'd like to believe. And so, man, there's a lot of forces out there that are trying to push against us. I believe that Jesus has overcome the world. Hope that's helpful to you today. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Hi, thank you for watching New Life Live. You know, New Life Live is a Christian counseling program where we deal with the hard questions about life, relationships, kids, free choice, freedom of will, whatever. It's all right there on New Life Live every day, every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. If you want to call into the live broadcast, you can find the schedule on newlife.com or click the social media link right below. You can see every episode of New Life Live on the New Life YouTube channel. Watch it with a friend, watch it later. Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you'll never miss another episode. So if you want to listen on the go, download the app. The link is right below. And I hope if you need some information, if you want to get some help, you'll call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. And I'll see you next time.